2021, it was a weird year for professional wrestling. See Zombies. We started out with fans being on screens to being together once again. Joy to the world. Someone who had an amazing 2021 was Bryan Danielson. Everyone's favorite vegan Daniel Bryan started off his 2021 in one organization and ended in another with a completely different name. Someone sounds like they need counseling. Whichever you refer to him as, Bryan has captivated wrestling fans over the globe for a better part of 20 years, and his 2021 seems to be his best somehow. Here are the top 10 Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson / Infinito matches of 2021. Honorable mention, Infinito. It's just funny, okay? Sue me. Hey, what's Mr. Danielson leading a yes chant to, you ask? Why, no other than subscribing to this channel and kneeing the notification button right in the face. Number 10, Daniel Bryan vs. Jay Uso in a steel cage Friday Night SmackDown. This honestly felt like a redemption story of WrestleMania 30, with Bryan attempting to make his way into the WrestleMania main event against Roman Reigns and Royal Rumble winner Edge. He had to get through the Tribal Chief's cousin, Jay Uso. A great cage match with quick, impactful moves. It demonstrated a more loose Bryan as we've seen from the past, and opened a doorway to future performances. With nowhere to go, Jay ultimately tapped to the yes lock, securing Bryan's WrestleMania spot, and leaving a look of frustration on the champ's face. Number 9, Bryan Danielson vs. Nick Jackson, AEW Rampage. Now, typically a cage match would be better than a regular old singles match in some cases, but one of Danielson's first matches back after having a stellar outing in his first AEW match, don't you worry, we'll get to that, you marks. Nick Flip Action Jackson, and the only American allowed to be a dragon, had a solid one on Rampage. One half of the Flippity Doodah brothers pulled off his aerial attacks while also proving he could be technical. Those Bucks, man. However, Danielson also proved why he's known for his many ways to make you tap out, locking in the cattle mutilation for the victory. Number 8, Bryan Danielson vs. Bobby Fish, Saturday Night Dynamite. Maybe it was because this took place on a Dynamite pushed from its normal time slot thanks to hockey, those darn Canadians. But many forget just a couple months prior, both men were performing in WWE and never crossed paths. This match is exactly what you expect from it. Hard-hitting shots, technical submissions, and a dive here and there. What an underrated match. It was a wonderful brawl, with Danielson picking up the win. Number 7, Bryan Danielson vs. Miro, AEW Full Gear. AEW does one thing right above all, allows their wrestlers to be themselves. Something that the former Rusev and Daniel Bryan were not able to do elsewhere. In this hard-hitting number 1 contenders match for the AEW World title, both men were well-established wrestlers, and we've seen them in battle before. Now, take those battles and ramp them up by 100. That's what you got out of this Full Gear match. Overpowering and outperforming one another, these hard hitters made a statement that night, ending with the monster Miro refusing to give up and passing out to a chokehold and launching Bryan Danielson into the next chapter of his AEW career. Number 6, Bryan Danielson vs. Eddie Kingston, AEW Rampage. Captain Planet vs. the King of New York was an emotional first fight. Eddie Kingston may not have the best in-ring skills, but he is the undisputed champion on that mic. Don't at me. This match was less about wrestling and more about straight fists. The two brawled until the end, where a reluctant Kingston would not give in, unceremoniously giving Danielson the one-finger salute before losing consciousness and passing out, leaving the fans in a standing ovation. Number 5, Daniel Bryan vs. Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, Friday Night SmackDown. There really wasn't a better way to go out. Daniel Bryan stated he had no hard feelings towards WWE, and this match showed how much WWE respected their yes man. This match isn't just on here because it was Bryan's last with the corporate giant, but because the story that was told between these two amazing athletes over the past year was culminating on this evening. Daniel going the distance one last time and ending the only way it could have, him choosing to lose consciousness rather than tap out. It wasn't in front of live fans, but it didn't matter. We heard the cheers. Coming in at number 4, Bryan Danielson vs. Minoru Suzuki, Rampage Buy-In. Minoru Suzuki is a legend to pro wrestling and MMA for that matter. Hearing a packed crowd scream Kaze ni Nare at the top of their lungs is so satisfactory. It's why I listen to this song daily on my Spotify. Now, we must mention this was free. Yes, free on YouTube. You can watch it to this day, I swear. This is personally my favorite match from this duo that I've seen in a while. The crowd became absolutely unglued for this. These two were trying to make you forget pro wrestling is staged, and my goodness, what a freaking fight, and that's the only way that I can explain this right now. It's just a raw fight. Danielson picked up the victory, but that night, every single fan won. Number 3, Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, WrestleMania 37, Night 2. Okay, with all the hate on WWE right now, there is one thing that WWE does well, and that is triple threats. More times than none, they are stellar. Yeah, I said stellar. This headlined the show, let's remember that. There are so many memorable moments from this match. The hard blows, the submission trade-off, the belief that maybe, just maybe, the vegan night would save us all from the reign of terror. But alas, it did not happen. But what a match. If you haven't seen this match alone is worth purchasing Peacock just for this insane WrestleMania moment. Number 2, Bryan Danielson versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Title, Winter is Coming. Heel Bryan Danielson is nothing short of amazing, and having him go toe-to-toe for 1 hour with the Millennial Cowboy, everyone's unsung hero Adam Page, made this match that much better. These competitors for 60 minutes gave us one of, if not the best wrestling matches of the year. It was hard to choose number 2 and number 1, I'll be honest with you, but I hope you'll see why I did this. This match was phenomenal, nothing more, nothing less. The two perfected professional wrestling this night, and yes, even though the match ended in a draw, a point needs to be made. AEW is trying to simulate sports, and if any two were going to come to a draw in a timed wrestling match, you better believe I'm banking in on the Hangman and Danielson. Well, except for one, I guess. Number 1, Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. This match. This is why this is number 1. Arthur Ashe Stadium went ballistic for this dream match, and so did I. Both athletes proved this night why they are in contention for best in the world. Although 30 minutes shorter and with the same outcome as the Hangman match, we were still shown the epitome of pro wrestling. It had story, it had character, it had very good wrestling. It was the closest thing to perfection for me in this sport. The blows, the moves, the chops, everything these two did synchronized so well together. Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson are amazing professional wrestlers, and Bryan had a hell of a 2021.